So let's get on with the agenda. First item on the agenda is the acceptance of our September minutes. You've all received copies from Laura. Another fine job on her part, getting them out. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I move we accept the minutes.
Okay, motion's been made. Can I have a second? Show of hands.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any need for discussion? Hearing no need for discussion. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Deborah has fallen off the screen here someplace. Hope she didn't fall off her couch. In any event, next item is treasurer's report. Laura?
Yes. Are you hearing an echo when I talk?
Pardon me?
Are you hearing an echo?
Yes,
When I
I
talk?
am. Yes, I am.
I think I need to get rid of this the other me.
You're breaking up also.
I can remove you, the other one.
We're gonna get rid of the second Laura Buskey, are we? Okay.
She closed the wrong one.
Okay. There we go.
There we go.
Okay,
All
that's
right,
better.
Now
That's
let me
good.
get back. Now let me get back to my report. Okay, so we have, including a national grid bill of $12.53 for August and September.
Which Laura provided me today, which I'll be processing and sending it to the town accountant for payment this week. Sorry.
So the budget has $1,288.45 after that comes out. The donation account has $2,466 and a penny. That includes, actually, that includes expense of $350 for security system that we approved but haven't spent yet. And then the grant money, there is $592.14 remaining.
Okay. All right, very good. Can I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented?
I move we accept treasurer's report.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any need further discussion? Hearing no need, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. How about incoming correspondence, Laura?
Yep, just back over to that. Sorry, I have to keep flipping screens here. Bunch of newsletters as usual, which you can read in the minutes when they come out. There was one on September 24th. There was an email that came in from a Nicholas Geikis or Geikis. And it was basically, he's some sort of a builder or realtor or something. It came in through a form on our website or on the town's website. So it's kind of cryptic, but it is in relation to 165 Lyman Road address. And it said, "Can John please call me at," with his cell phone number. And that was the extent of it. I chatted with Carl about this a little bit earlier today. And, you know, I'm basically choosing to ignore that, but I don't know if anybody has any other ideas.
I think that's an appropriate approach. You know, it certainly wasn't a clear message, and the person is interested in something from us or information from us. I'll let the person respond again. That's my thought on the matter.
And I will add that the only other note that we've ever gotten that came in that format was from Jason. And that one was clearly legitimate. So I think it's a legitimate means to reach us, but
Right.
this one just to me looks like a phishing thing. And then on September 24th, also got messages from both the select board and the town administrator with, attention, please. I guess CISA, FBI, and the NSA were releasing a joint cybersecurity advisory on Conti ransomware. So it's a big announcement about that. And on October 7th, I completed the cyber strengths assessment. And October 8th, I completed the cybersecurity training assignment. So it's interesting that the only other correspondence was something that I think might be phishing. So
Maybe that was part of the test.
I wondered about that actually. But that's it for, we did get a Mass Farm Bureau News and Views paper copy today, or yesterday.
All right, very good. Anybody?
That's
Thank you, Laura. Anybody have any questions? All right, let's move on in the agenda under old business, and we'll move the subject of welcome to Berlin sign at the community garden to the top of the list. Jason Rowe is joining us. He's in charge of that project. Jason, I'll just mention, although we canceled last month's meeting, it was rescheduled the following week. And we did discuss the matter at that time. And our understanding is the intent is to put a fairly large welcome to Berlin sign to the left of the entrance driveway to the community garden. We discussed it. We saw the photos you had previously provided us with. And the consensus at the time was we had no issue with it. You will recall also in one of my prior emails, I had outlined what I thought were appropriate other approvals that one would have to seek. One being Riverbridge LLC, the planning board, and I believe the town building inspector. So if you would like to add something, we're here to listen, certainly, and you've got the floor.
Sure. Well, first I apologize for missing the rescheduled meeting. I should have looked at the updated calendar sooner. Second, thanks for giving me some time to just chit chat with you guys tonight. So as a member of the EDC, one of the projects we've been working on was trying to help maybe bring a little identity to the town and local businesses. So through a brainstorming project, we talked about putting these welcome signs close to the border lines of the town. One being over off of 495, right when you get off the exit. The one down by Riverbridge and the community garden. Another one closer to Clinton. So right now we have 3 or 4 sites, but we thought we would pursue the first one over by the community garden because the property is leased by the town.
That's correct.
We figured it would be the easier of the ones to start with as far as understanding the complexity of the whole project. So working with Richard, the building inspector, he's already kind of given me his blessing on everything that we've submitted. And then I met with the planning board last week. They are all good with it. They gave me some more guidelines of where they'd like to see the sign, and I'd have to go over there and put a stake in the ground so that you guys can all get visibility to it. But they were saying 200 feet from the culvert that runs under, and 7 feet back off the road is what they're giving me for a guideline. So again, I have to kind of come over there and put a stake in the ground and see how close it is to your driveway and make sure you guys are good with that and stuff. But that's kind of what they've given me for guidance there. Riverbridge, Peter has reached out to them and they are on board with it too. So we have kind of checked all the boxes. Unfortunately, you guys were the last box that I needed to really connect with in person. And, you know, Carl, I know you and I had emailed back and forth a few different times, but
Right.
so you shared the picture of the sign. It meets all the requirements for town signage. It'll have the town crest on it. We have a couple sponsors lined up, and we're trying to determine who will be the sponsor of that sign specifically. One of them is Highland Liquor. The other one is Clinton Savings Bank. So we gave River Bridge dibs on being a sponsor to the sign since it's their property, but they have declined. So we're going to move forward with there, but I appreciate you guys talking about it in your last meeting. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer those now.
Okay, well, thank you for the update. Again, from a personal point of view, and we can poll the rest of the people here this evening as well. As long as it's to the left of the driveway in that area, I personally don't have a problem with it. Does anybody have any other questions or observations you'd like to ask of Jason while he's here? Okay, that was easy. You did a good job, Jason. Nobody has any other questions or observations?
Awesome. I appreciate it. So what I'll do is I'll get down there and get a stake in the ground.
Okay,
And then I'll just shoot you an email when I do it. And at your leisure, you guys take a look. And if there's a concern or anything, let me know.
okay,
And,
very good.
We can reevaluate from there.
Okay, very fine.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for the update.
All right. Appreciate your time, guys.
Okay,
I might listen in for a little bit here. I'm curious about what you guys
Okay.
are doing.
you're certainly welcome. It's a public forum. You're certainly welcome to stay on board here with us.
Awesome. Thank you much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, getting back to the agenda under old business, purchase of security cameras. Mr. Wheeler, do you have any new information?
Camera's on its way, so should be
Okay.
here soon.
What-
And it-
Which,
by the end of
which
the
one
week.
did you decide on? We were talking two models of, one had more pixels or something like that. I don't know. I'm not into this stuff. What model did you
the-
decide?
The 1080p version. So that should be plenty for everything that we want it to accomplish.
Okay,
And so it was on sale so we got the whole thing for $250, or I think 260. I can send an email with the actual amount.
okay. But it's around 260 or thereabouts?
Yeah. I may have
Okay.
it right here in front of me, actually. Maybe not. There it is. Yeah, I can forward along the final total.
Okay. So you want to process a reimbursement form and
Yeah. Yeah.
hook up with the salt to sign off on it. And so you get reimbursed in a timely manner.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that.
Sure thing.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Next item on the agenda, the re-shingling of the community garden shed and roof. Was tentatively scheduled for between October 3rd and October 16th. As I mentioned, Buddy's in the hospital, so that's certainly in a holding pattern. And not certain if and when that will get done this season. I may have to approach our town administrator. The funding for this, it was earmarked out of the state grant that we have. We were going to spend approximately $500 for that task. If this has to get pushed out next year, it's not clear to me whether we have to seek once again state approval to hang on to the money for an additional year. We're in our third year. They've already granted us, I think, 2 extensions. So we'll have to see how the situation goes. But I may have to ask her to contact the state to make sure that we're staying in their good graces with respect to holding on to the money. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Again, just to keep it in our sights here, we want to talk about this coming winter, when we all have more time, about the current garden feast schedule that Deborah will be presenting us with some recommendations, I believe, later on this winter. So we'll move beyond that. We got 2 damaged security lights down at the community garden. Again, we're going to have Buddy address that. So I guess we'll put that on the back burner as well at this time. Hand in hand with this whole subject, I had notified the town administrator by email that solar panels were still on the community garden. And I gave her the schedule of October 3rd through the 16th when we were planning for the roof. So that subject matter, again, is also in a holding pattern. Any questions under old business? All right, moving on to new business. Community garden status report. Deborah, by the way, before you jump in, I went down there today and the garden looks absolutely wonderful. It's, you know, very, very clean and neat and tidy. So go ahead.
I was cracking.
Yes, I know. I saw all your emails. Deborah puts me on her distribution, which is great when she's going after the gardeners who are falling behind and getting their gardens cleaned up. So they certainly work because the garden is in terrific condition at the moment.
It is, and I'm very happy with it. Oh, is that me making all those gurgling sounds?
No, you're coming a bit clear through at this end.
Okay. Yeah, I think the garden looks great, and I think that's going to segue into the next thing that I want to tell you on the tilling of the garden. The tank has been insulated. Solar panel is still up there, as you know, which I was going to report to you. We have 2 winter projects that we're putting into place. We'll do the gardening, the garlic project again, and we're going to do some winter gardening this year in the raised beds, which I have a small group of gardeners who are very excited about that. I'm hoping that the DPW would be willing to just like run down the driveway if we start getting a lot of snow. We've been spoiled the last couple of years without having a whole bunch of snow that would have made the area accessible. So I'm going to have to talk to them to see if that's a possibility, just so that people can get down there. Otherwise, we'll be issuing snowshoes, I suppose, and walking down there.
Deborah?
Yeah.
Deborah, excuse me.
Yep.
I have no problem with anything you just said, okay? The only thing I want to clarify, the highway department right now is extremely stressed from the point of view of lack of manpower and a manager. So any requests of the highway department have to go through our town administrator.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if you were aware of that. So if you want to discuss about potential plowing, please forward that through here and copy me as well, if you would, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'll do that. And hopefully we're not looking at snow for quite a while.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm very happy with how the gardeners have responded. I guess that's really all I have to say. Pretty much all the projects are done. We probably will have to have a very short work day on Saturday. I'm trying to avoid that, as you saw from my emails to them. Let's get this done at a time so we don't have to have an extra day to get everything done. One of the gardeners inherited a small, it's like 3 feet by 6 foot by 22-inch deep plastic storage shed that I brought down to the garden today. We've been talking about having a separate tool shed.
Right.
So clean it all up. If for some reason we decide we don't want it, can't use it, whatever, there are other people who will take it. But right now, that's something I figured I might as well grab it while I could. It's in good shape. We would be able to put it behind the shed.
Right.
We also have an offer of a lawnmower. One of the gardeners passed away about 2 weeks ago. So that's where these things are coming from. And I went to look at it today. I'm not sure it's something, I'm going to have my husband look at it and see if it's something that we really find acceptable to be able to do some of that mowing that's not getting done in the tighter spaces. I have a gardener who weed whacks a lot, but there's still these places that she can't do. And I was wondering if maybe a lawnmower down there by donation is something that we can take a look at.
Sure.
You know, again, you can always go to the dump. So there was one other thing, but it'll come back to me.
All right, very good. Along that same line, I also sent an email to our town administrator reminding her that the highway department has always winterized our irrigation system. So we need to keep this in mind. I haven't heard back. I sent that a couple of 3 weeks ago. Again, I know the highway department is out straight, but we want to make sure that it gets done somehow before we get into a very hard frost. Otherwise, we could have extensive damage to the water tank, the line from the well to the water tank, and irrigation line going out to the garden.
Mm.
So we want to stay on top of that. I'll keep monitoring that. So we do need to get that done before the severe weather sets in. Any questions regarding Deborah's report? Thank you, Deborah. Okay, moving on. So that was the next item on my agenda, draining of the community garden water lines.
But we got to talk about the tilling first.
Yes, you're right. I unintentionally jumped over that. Yeah, this could be problematic for us.
I hope, because I have a solution. And
Okay.
I'm very sorry to hear that Buddy is in the hospital, and this may be a perfect solution. The wood chips were raw wood chips this year, and wood chips have been plowed into that garden now for over as long as we've been in existence, and it's not good for the soil. And it was very obvious this year in the newly turned soil in the back of the garden compared to the front of the garden, the production of the crops. So this is why I was a tyrant this year in making the gardeners clean their gardens totally. My suggestion is, as an experiment this year, we do not totally cultivate the garden like we've done every year. We leave everything in place as it is, all the pathways in place. Everything has been turned well. Another gardener and I are willing to spread the winter rye. We just need it, and she and I will go in and hand do it so that it gets the winter crop. And then in the spring, people can choose to turn their gardens over themselves, or we can set up a system with the rototillers this year to rototill the individual gardens. That way we don't have to worry about, and Buddy doesn't have to worry about getting it tilled. Nobody else has to worry about getting it cultivated. And it's an experiment. We're not going to turn those wood chips back into the soil another year and let it rest.
Well, certainly if you think you can manage that situation, I personally don't have any problems with it. We are faced with a potential problem of Buddy not being available within the time frame that he normally does this task for us. And if you want to proceed on that basis, I have no concern with that. Anybody else have any comments or observations or inputs you'd like to suggest to Deborah relative to this subject?
I'm open to advice from anybody who has
the only concern I would have, and it may not be a serious concern, but it is a concern. I presume you're thinking of using the rototiller that's down there at the present time.
Yes, and Steve and I have a rototiller that we can make available that we would use, not.
Oh, okay.
We wouldn't let anybody else use it, but we have a rototiller, and I know there may be another gardener or two, but that's something we can work on the details of that as to if people want to have their gardens turned over, how we can do that.
Okay, the only observation I was going to make with respect to the rototiller that's down there in the shed, it's not a very large one. So it's not a big tiller, and you know, I'm sure it could do a good job on a lot of the plots, but you wouldn't want to run it for a solid, you know, 5 hours of tilling. You know, maybe a plot here and there now and then.
So
That's
can
the
I
only
add something
observation,
to that?
because it's not a very big tiller. Yes, go ahead.
In a conversation with Buddy, probably a month or so ago, maybe a little longer, he mentioned that it's not his tiller, but he has a tiller that's being stored in his barn that will probably never be used by the owner again. So there might be another one available that could be donated to the garden.
Okay.
And again, I don't think it's huge, but it would at least give, you know, some relief, not stress the other one out so much, kind of thing.
Yeah, but especially with somebody that has just a 10 by 10 plot. If it's an even smaller tiller, that might be an appropriate approach.
We have a big rototiller that we can throw on behind the tractor and bring down if we need to as well.
Okay.
But
All right.
we have various implements that we could also use too. So that would be a quicker solution if you're looking to rototill the whole thing, or
Okay.
a couple different plots.
Excellent. I'm glad you all are stepping forward, because I was really concerned with Buddy not being available, and you know, so I appreciate your efforts of looking into this and coming up with Plan B.
Yeah, 'cause,
Sounds like we have some solutions at hand.
we could do. I mean, if it was just a couple of plots, it would be like 2 or 3 or 4 passes for each one. So
Okay. Excellent.
I mean that.
I'll have
rather than
Deborah get
trying
in
to
touch
deal
with you.
a push rototiller,
Okay. Any other comments? All right, very good. Thank you all. Let's see. So I mentioned earlier, Deborah had submitted her invoice for reimbursement of $54.12 and for the painting of the picnic table, and that has been forwarded to the town accountant for reimbursement. Yes, Deborah.
Not yet.
Not yet?
I have to get one more signature, and I haven't
Oh,
been
okay.
to beat the bushes for that. So
All right, thank you for correcting me.
James or Kevin or Michael, you are on my list.
Yeah, the
I'll
same
catch-
here.
I'll catch up with one of you.
Same here. You may recall, and Deborah mentioned it tonight, she installed or had installed the insulation around the water tank, and I purchased that material some weeks back, and I also need a couple of signatures from you folks, so I'll be knocking on your doors or giving you a call to get that in. I don't remember the exact amount. It's 29 and change, so it's not a big deal, but I also need a couple of signatures, which I'll be coming around with. Okay. Next item, Community Preservation Act. So it came to my attention for purposes of openness. I'll mention that Elaine, my wife, is on the Community Preservation Act Committee. I don't know if you all are familiar with it, but let me give it to you in some general terms. Some years back, the town passed this at a town meeting. It's a 3%, I'm going to call it a surcharge, if you will. I don't know if that's the right term, a 3% surcharge on your annual property tax bill. Those monies goes into a special account. And because we signed up as a town for 3%, the state also provides, I think it's matching funds for that. So at the moment, there's some substantial monies in this particular account. And just about anybody can apply to use that monies for special projects that help the community. Conservation is one, recreation is another, for example. Farming is another. Housing activity is another. So those are some of the general categories. There may be others, but I think you get the idea how the money is supposed to be used. So what happens is an organization will submit a pre-application. It goes to the committee. That's supposed to be in by the 1st of October under the current rules. Tim Wheeler is the chairman. Once that is presented, if that application is approved, then you submit a more formal application by December. If that gets approved by the committee, it then goes to town meeting in May. People aren't voting to raise and appropriate funds because the money is already there. What they would be voting on is approval of the expenditures for the given projects that the committee has approved. So that's the general cycle. So that being the case, and since it came to my attention just a couple of weeks ago, Deborah and I started on a plan to see if we could get monies for some permanent fencing. The temporary fencing or seasonal fencing that we put in down there had some benefits, but it's not perfect. And we'd like to do something more permanent. Deborah has been working with the people at the Hudson Community Garden. They have a very nice arrangement there. It's a 6-foot fence. 1 foot of it is underground, 6 feet above ground, and it encloses their whole area. And it does a fine job. It's chain link fencing. You may recall I sent out a draft letter that I wanted to send to the Horizon Fencing Company, which I did do, to see if we could get a quote so we could submit our preliminary application. I would say also that in correspondence with Tim Wheeler, he has granted us a reprieve, if you will, from the 1 October date. But we do need to get something in this week. So I submitted that letter to the Horizon Fencing Company. I had talked to the person first. He was all enthusiastic about it. When he saw my letter, he wouldn't return any of my calls. So I then found 3 or 4 other fencing companies. I sent out a similar letter. Some people called me back, others ignored me. What seems to be one of their biggest concerns, okay, is the procurement time cycle. And what I mean by that now, they're reluctant, particularly given the fact that supply chain issues exist. People are having a hard time getting materials, having a hard time getting firm quotes from their own vendors. And when we're asking people to give us a quote in October, that's going to be presented at a meeting in May. And it may take additional 2 months after that before we get the procurement done and place an award with those people. You're talking an 8 or 9 month procurement cycle under this current schedule that's been set up. And these vendors are very, very reluctant to stick their neck out to that sort of time frame. One person even sent back saying, we're not even quoting anymore for the rest of this season. They're just working on the jobs they have. One of the other persons that I did talk to, he was a little bit more open. This was a fellow by the name of David at Johnson Fence Company in Rutland. And I gave him the same letter about our requirements. And he threw a ballpark number out of $28,000 to $30,000, but wasn't willing to put anything in writing. So today I received from Deborah an email that she forwarded to me from the Hudson Garden people. And they did some research for Deborah relative to their fencing situation. people that put their fencing in, it's the Arrow Fencing Company in Marlboro. A person by the name of Jody from Hudson spoke to the Arrow people, and they were able to come up between the two of them with the following information. Hudson had 700 linear feet of fencing put in. We're looking at 630. The fencing is 6 feet above ground and 12 inches below ground, as I mentioned. They have one gate, 6 by 8. It's a double gate. They also have another gate, 6 by 4, for their entrance gate. This installation was done on May 3rd, 2013. The cost, they believe at that time, was somewhere around $17,000. So we're talking about an 8-year time span here. You know, there is a rule of thumb, I'm sure you've probably all heard it, every 10 years, prices double. So that may not be far off on doubling that 17 grand. So what I did with this information this morning, I sent the information by email to Arrow Fencing and asked if it would be possible for them to come up with a budgetary estimate for us for the purpose of replying to this first round of the grant within the next few days. I called the person that I sent the email to this afternoon. They have received it, and they're going to try, no guarantee, they're going to try to get something back to us by tomorrow. So that's the whole story as I know it at the moment. So we obviously don't know what the money is going to look like. And I also mentioned in that email to the Arrow Fence Company that if they provided us with a budgetary now, which would be adequate for the first round of this application to be submitted in October, we would then go back in the December timeframe and ask them for a more firm quote, which would be part of our application, our second phase application in December. So they're aware of that. So the question is, if we get a quote of some sort, budgetary or whatever, from Arrow, and like I say, it's a good possibility it may be in the $30,000 price range, or thereabouts, maybe between 25 and 30, which is just a pure guess on my part. Is there something that you folks would like to proceed with and submitting the application to the CPAC committee in town? It's a very simple application. It's not very elaborate. You just have to describe the project, put in some basis of how you arrived at the number, which if Arrow comes through, we'd use that obviously, and submit it and see what that committee decides, whether they think it's a worthy endeavor to spend the CPAC money on. And if they agree it is, then we qualify for the second round and have to submit a more detailed and more substantiated price for that second round. So I would like your comments, observations. I'll start with Deborah because she has a vested interest in.
I'm not going to argue with going forward.
Okay.
The small fence that we had this year, we had very little problem with people coming into the garden. Right away, it was a barrier.
Right.
So to be able to make a permanent fence there that is, to me, I think it's a good move.
I have received some photos from Deborah of the fencing that's in the Hudson facility. Looks to me like it's the posts that were used appear to be cedar. I don't know that for a fact, but that's my observation. I'm looking at the photos. It's a black chain fencing, so it doesn't have, high impact visibility sort of thing, unless you're up close to it. The gates were made out of, again, it appeared to be cedar, round cedar. and covered with, again, the black chain link fence, heavy duty latches and heavy duty hinges were also utilized in hanging the gates. Any other comments? Can I have a motion that we will go forward in submitting a preliminary application to the Community Preservation Act Committee within the next, well, this week, let me put it that way, to see if we can get into the round one review and approval cycle.
I move it forward.
I'm sorry, Kevin, I didn't hear you.
I move we go forward with a proposal.
Okay, motions are made, second, all
Second.
right,
Second.
second. Is there need for further discussion? Hearing no need, all in favor?
I,
All right, unanimous, thank you, very good. We shall proceed on that basis, and hopefully Arrow will come through. Obviously, if they don't come through, we don't have much of a leg to stand on. I suppose I could throw in the verbal number, but, you know, that could be a little dicey, but in any event, we'll see what happens. Next item on the agenda. Okay, another grant opportunity. I'm not sure how you say this. I don't know. It's M Roman numeral 2A, or whether they're supposed to be I's, but in any event, it's the MA something, Health Benefit Trust Wellness Grant Application. Eloise Sauls sent this to me. Give me a minute here to find it. What it is the town, as you sure are aware, they have a healthcare provider that provides healthcare insurance to town employees. And as part of that, there's this organization that I just mentioned, this M2A Health Benefits Trust, okay, that works in conjunction with the town's healthcare provider. And their motivation is to keep people healthy by keeping them active. So they have this trust fund, okay, that hands out money for projects such as healthy vending machines or refrigerators, fitness equipment, funds for building fitness centers, creating relaxation spaces, including equipment, water coolers, personal training and fitness trainer, leadership training. And here's where we come in. Community gardens, garden beds, campus trees, and outdoor/indoor plants. So those are some community supported agricultural shares is another one. Bikes, bike riding racks. So those are some of the categories they're willing to fund out of their trust. Now, the amount of money that one can request under their application is a function of how many people belong to this, or subscribe, I should say, to the town healthcare system. And I confirm that again with Eloise. The grant levels are $5K for 1 to 50 subscribers, $7,500 for 51 to 150 subscribers, 10 grand for 151 to 300 subscribers, 15 grand for 301 to 450 subscribers, and 20 grand for 451 or more subscribers. The town falls within the 1 to 50 subscribership. Therefore, we can apply for a grant of up to $5,000 having to do with the community garden. So I brought this to Deborah's attention over the phone a few days ago. I didn't get this too many days back. And I asked her to put her thinking cap on. And she said she'd be polling some of the gardeners as well. And again, the application is not very lengthy, not very strenuous. Wouldn't take a big deal to put it together. And I think it's a worthy thing we should at least try. I think it's something between Deborah and I, we could certainly write the grant. The first question, for example, is how will the grant be used to continue or enhance the health and well-being of your employees? So that's very easy. Well, do their gardening. You know? We have to elaborate on that. But that's basically the response. So there are questions like that. There's a half a dozen or more of them. Very straightforward, not a big effort. So I would like to, yes.
What is the deadline?
Good point. I believe, and let me check to make sure, I believe it's February.
Oh, okay.
February 1st, I believe. It's in here someplace. Hold on, it's 3 or 4 pages here. I believe it's February 1 of this coming year. Here it is, yep. The deadline for application submission is February 1st, 2022.
Okay.
So we have some time to do it. Unlike other things we've been jumped into, we have very short fuses. This gives us some time to put it together. So, have any comments or questions? Be glad to try to address them. I'm sorry.
I'm planning on sending an email out to the gardeners for feedback about what went well and what didn't go well during the season, so that I can, get a feel for, suggestions for improvement for what happened this year. It was an excellent garden. It was beautiful, and they did a wonderful job, but there's always somebody who wants to tell you something. So I'm going to give them that option.
I will forward this to you as well. I haven't done that yet, Deborah. I will forward this whole packet of 3 or 4 pages to you by email.
Okay, so in that email to them, I'm going to ask them. I've been talking to some people, but I'm going to ask them for suggestions.
Great. And
we'll be able to put it together.
We were talking at some meetings back about, we could probably use a replacement wheelbarrow and stuff like that. So, wheelbarrows today, good quality ones, are fairly pricey. And if we don't have to spend taxpayer dollars or our donation monies that we use for other applications, things like that could go in it, I believe.
You might be able to get a rototiller too.
Might be able to get a new rototiller. There you go. There you go. A nice 10 horsepower one. Troy built. They're about, the last time I looked at them, they're about $4 grand. They're probably more, but they would fall in there. That would be one good asset. That would be a very good asset. Thanks for the suggestion. So, if there are any other comments, I'd like to have a motion that authorizes Deborah and I to proceed with writing the application and submitting it to this trust. Certainly, there's time. For us to draft something and review it. We'll have some meetings between now and the 1st of February. So when we have a draft or something prepared and our recommendations, we will certainly bring it to everybody's attention before the 1 February submission date.
I move to go forward with it.
Okay, motion been made. You have a second?
Second.
Have a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We'll proceed on that basis. Thank you very much.
Carl, can you do me a favor and repeat the Roman numeral part of what's the grant called again?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So it looks like it's and these are all capitals. MIIA, I guess they're like Roman numeral I's, or
Oh, okay.
MIIA. Well, and it's the MIIA Health Benefits Trust Wellness Grant. That's the grant title that we'll be responding to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what else we got here? Anything else? Let me see here. I gotta remember to send that to Deborah. Pull that out. Okay. Oh, okay. Looks like we've pretty much covered the agenda. Deborah, yes.
I just have one question circling back to the ryegrass and the procurement of that.
Yeah.
How Buddy usually provides it, so.
Right, okay, good point.
About getting that.
All right. So that's part of his farm business, you know, doing grains and grasses and grass seed ryegrass. Laura? Laura?
Yes, dear.
Based on our conversation earlier today, where you helped Buddy out, paying some feed and stuff like that, I would presume that's where he's getting his ryegrass from. I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he gets ryegrass. The place that I went from him today is a grain store, and I would have to double check. But I was gonna offer to keep doing that little errand for him. So, I mean, if it's literally a question of picking, if I can get from him where to go to get it, you know, I'm
Yeah,
happy.
or you could just ask the grain store directly if they carry it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
because I don't know if he's going to be accessible.
yeah.
So why don't we put your question on the back burner for a few days, Deborah, and why don't we see if what we think might have been his source is the source, and I'd like to ask Laura if she would follow up on that.
I will do that.
And thank you. And if it is the source, please inform Deborah, and we'll figure out how to get it. And like Buddy has always done in the past, an invoice has to be submitted and approved by us and sent into the town accountant. We can do that. And I don't recall how many bags we have done. I'd have to look at the budget. I don't have that right in front of me at the moment, but we can check that out to see how many bags.
We have 4 bags in
I
the
thought
budget.
that was a number. I was reluctant to say it. I thought it was, but I think that's correct.
But
All right.
we have also expanded the garden this year, so would we need more than that?
Good question.
Because we.
Yeah, that is a good point. Our budget this year is extremely tight. But if we're going to find an alternate method of tilling, we have that money in the budget, so we can certainly relabel it for ryegrass without any issue.
Okay.
So we might be thinking of 5 to 6 bags. We could certainly fund that. And in worst case scenario, we also have our donation account if push comes to shove. But yeah, maybe what we should do is come up with the square footage, since we're not experts in this matter. And if the company that we're talking about is the supplier, we could ask them what their recommendation is for the square footage that we plan to seed. Is that reasonable? Okay, very good. All right. So is that under control?
Yeah, I'll just wait.
Okay.
Wait to hear from Laura, and then once we know from Laura,
Laura, yeah.
then a decision can be made as for me to go procure it and get somebody to help me, get the people that are going to help me do it.
Okay, we'll coordinate that together. Put
Okay,
everybody on distribution for your emails. All
okay.
right, very good. Anything else? Anything else? All right, if there's no other comments or concerns or complaints, make a motion to adjourn.
I move we,
Kevin's right on the ball. Motion's been made. Second, all in favor? Very good. Thank you, James.